You ever wonder why we don't have flying cars yet? Or, free energy for everybody? Is it because the tech just isn't there, or is there something else, something bigger, holding us back? Well, today, we're diving into this epic and often invisible battle between brilliant new ideas and the powerful systems that fight to keep things just the way they are. This is the story of the future we were promised and the one we actually got.
The inspiration for this whole explainer comes from an article by Marynes Pereira, and she kicks things off with this powerful idea. Pay attention to your insights, because a single moment of inspiration can literally change everything. It's that aha moment, that spark that really pushes all of humanity forward.
And here's the big twist. What happens when that brilliant idea doesn't just create something new, but it threatens to destroy something old? Something that's established, powerful, and very, very profitable. Because we tend to think of innovation as this happy little story of genius, but it's often a declaration of war.
Marynes Pereira gives this invisible force a name: the system. And the best way to think about it is like an economic immune system for the planet. It's made up of all the established industries, the existing profit models, and its main job is to keep things stable, to maintain the status quo. So when a truly disruptive new idea comes along, the system sees it as a virus and launches an all-out attack to kill it before it can spread.
So to really understand how this works, we have to look back. We're going to take a little trip through a graveyard of lost futures, looking at some of the incredible innovations that were basically smothered by the system before they ever got a chance to change our world.
First up, the one, the only, Nikola Tesla. Now, we all know him for AC electricity, but his biggest, wildest dream was something called the Wardenclyffe Tower. This wasn't just about sending messages. No, this was a plan for free, wireless energy for the entire planet. The idea was to use the Earth itself as a giant conductor. Can you even imagine?
So what went wrong? Well, the system kicked in. Tesla's main backer, the famous financier J.P. Morgan, pulled the funding. And the reason why is so simple, it's almost brutal. It all came down to a single question. Where do we put the meter? If you can't measure it, you can't charge for it. And if you can't charge for it, the system isn't interested. And just like that, the dream was dead. We lost a future with no power lines where energy could have been as common as the air we breathe.
All right, let's jump forward about 100 years. Long before Tesla cars were everywhere, General Motors had the EV1. We're talking the 1990s. And this wasn't some clunky prototype. It was a sleek, fast, futuristic car that people who leased them absolutely adored. They love these things. So what happened? The system made its move. In what has to be one of the craziest moments in corporate history, GM recalled every single EV1. They didn't sell them, they didn't put them in a museum, they shipped them out to the desert and physically crushed them into metal pancakes. Now, the official story was pretty weak, but the real reason? Immense pressure from the oil industry and a total failure of vision from the car companies themselves. The result? We lost 30 years. 30 years of progress on batteries, on clean air, just gone.
And look, this isn't just an American story. The exact same pattern played out in Brazil. This little car here is the Gurgel Itaipu, and it was prototyped all the way back in 1974. Right in the middle of a massive oil crisis, this small, super efficient electric car was a brilliant homegrown solution.
But it never stood a chance. The system came at it from three sides at once. First, the Brazilian government decided to save its sugar industry with a massive ethanol fuel program. So an electric car was suddenly a competitor. Second, the big foreign car companies lobbied for tax breaks that Gurgel couldn't get, pricing his cars right out of the market. And finally, the money dried up. Development banks just flat out refused to give him the loans he needed to scale. Brazil lost its shot at being a global leader in electric vehicles.
Okay, so this all sounds pretty bleak, right? It seems like the system always wins, but innovators do break through. So the question is, how? What's the playbook for actually fighting back?
Now, according to Marynes Pereira, it all boils down to four key things. It starts with observation. That's seeing what everyone else sees, but noticing what they miss. That leads to curiosity, where you start asking, hey, why is it like this? Couldn't it be better? Then you need focus, that relentless, obsessive drive to actually build the thing. But the last one is the most important. Courage. The guts to actually release your idea into the world, knowing full well the system's going to come for you.
Think about Napster. Their curiosity was a simple question. What if music was everywhere, on everyone's computers, instead of in one place? But it was their courage that changed the game. They knew the entire music industry would declare total war on them, and they did it anyway. And this is the perfect example of how it works. The system, in this case the record labels, sued Napster until it was dead. But the idea was out. It couldn't be uninvented. And it paved the way for everything that came after, from iTunes to Spotify.
Or take Amazon. This wasn't just a lucky guess. It started with pure observation. Jeff Bezos saw this one statistic. Internet usage was growing by 2,300% a year. 2,300%? He knew an online store would have an almost unfair advantage. Then came the focus. Why books? Not because he was a huge bookworm, but because books were the perfect product to test his model of logistics and massive scale. That took unbelievable courage, leaving a fancy Wall Street job to start a company in his garage. By the time the system even noticed him, he'd already started building an empire.
So this brings us to right now, today, because that same exact battle, innovation versus the system, is being fought on the biggest, most disruptive battlefield humanity has ever seen: artificial intelligence. This isn't just about one industry anymore. AI threatens the foundations of everything: work, art, power, you name it.
And honestly, the stakes could not be higher. AI is offering us two completely different futures. On the light side, it's this incredible tool for unlocking human potential. We're talking about curing diseases in months, giving every single kid on Earth a personalized tutor, ending dangerous jobs forever. But there's also the shadow side, the ultimate tool for control: predictive surveillance to stamp out protests before they even start, mass manipulation using deepfakes that are impossible to spot, and economic inequality on a scale we've never seen before. The fight over AI is a fight for which of these two futures we're going to get.
Now, to really get what's happening, we have to go even deeper. We have to go inside our own heads. Marynes Pereira looks at this whole conflict from a neurosociological perspective, basically looking at how our brains and our group behaviors are shaping this fight.
Pereira's model breaks society down into three rough groups. You've got about 10% who are the innovators, the creators, the ones pushing things forward. Then you have about 20% who are the manipulators, the ones who want to keep control and power for themselves. And then there's the big chunk in the middle, the 70%. That's most of us, the herd, who tend to follow whichever signal is the strongest.
And these first two groups, the active ones, are using AI in completely opposite ways. The 10% of innovators, they're using it to build tools for freedom, for evolution, things like personalized education and medical cures. Their goal is autonomy. But the 20% of manipulators, they're using AI for control, for monopoly. We're talking mass surveillance, deepfakes, algorithmic manipulation, anything to keep the 70% in line. The vast majority of people are the prize in this giant tug-of-war for the future.
And here's the scary part. The manipulators have a huge tactical advantage, and it's wired right into our brains. It all comes down to the amygdala, the primal fear center of our brain. It is just a biological fact that our brains react faster and stronger to fear in threats than they do to hope and inspiration. It is simply easier to lead people with fear and division than it is with complex, inspiring ideas that require real thought. So, if we're biologically hardwired to follow fear, are we just doomed? Is that it? Well, not necessarily. And this is where it gets really interesting. The final piece of the puzzle is a solution that's rooted in neuroplasticity, this incredible ability our brains have to literally rewire themselves. This is a game plan for how to fight back. The author lays out a three-step protocol for deprogramming ourselves. Step 1. Break the autopilot. This means embracing what she calls desirable cognitive discomfort. Basically, you have to actively seek out ideas that challenge you and make you think hard. Step 2. Modulate your amygdala. This is about emotional intelligence. It's about learning to recognize when your fear buttons are being pushed, so you can choose not to react. And third, reorient our mirror neurons. That's the part of our brain that copies others. We have to consciously make ethical, innovative leaders seem more cool, more attractive than the ones who just thrive on chaos and control. And all of this brings us to the final, really provocative question. The system, the manipulators, they offer a kind of security, the comfort of not having to think for yourself. Innovation, on the other hand, offers the chaos of freedom and the heavy responsibility of critical thought. So the real question for all of us is, how do we make the hard work of freedom more appealing than the easy comfort of being told what to do?
The concepts we've been exploring today all come from the incredible work of Marynes Pereira in her article, The Role of Neuroscience in the AI Era. It's a powerful reminder that the battle for our future isn't just happening in labs and in boardrooms. It's happening right inside our own minds. Thanks for tuning in.